sort of the first piece of it. The second piece is the security piece. Well, let's talk about privacy, being free from somebody else having information that you don't want them to have. And security is free from danger and threat. Security and privacy kind of work together. You can sort of see how they work together in that thing. But IoT and privacy and security, that's sort of a little bit of a train wreck, or worlds colliding thing. Privacy, from my perspective, is a policy question, right? Somebody decides what level of privacy they are at the individual or the group level or the country level, whatever, is willing to accept, and that's what the policy dictates, and that's how that is decided. It's decided at different levels. When you sign your user agreements, that's a policy decision. Making sure that those user agreements are enforced, that turns into a security question. You can see where the problem starts coming in. So from the IoT perspective, and especially in wearables, which is yet more intrusive than a lot of the other IoTs, because IoT, can range anything from your smartwatch to your smart city, and anything in between, or even larger than that. But what used to be physical is now becoming logical. We have consumer culture driving a lot of these pieces. When we're talking about AR and VR just a minute ago, if any of you were in the room, it was like, oh yeah, but we haven't gotten out of the place where that's a gaming technology. A little bit, yes, but not fundamentally. We're still looking at that as a thing that you use in order to get a cooler experience of shooting down bad guys and whatever game that is. We're not really at a place yet where we're using that for enhancing our reality. We're getting there, but then the next question is, and when you're enhancing the reality, are you sure that the reality is what it needs to be? We have unexpected technology invasions. Again, the wearables is a hugely unexpected invasion. We secure different locations in a different way than a lot of other people. We have skiffs, you've heard about them. You can't bring technology into your skiff. If you are wearing your technology and it is a part of what you are doing, and especially the big challenge for government is when it's a healthcare issue. It's like, okay, you're wearing your health that needs to be connected to a device all the time. How are you securing that? And does that actually create another threat vector? It's a big question that we have to ask. They're ubiquitous devices. They're everywhere all the time. They're an unimaginable amount of data that we didn't even begin to think about a while ago. And the market itself, as is clear from this particular venue, it's a hugely volatile market. But there is one thing that is true about all of this. Cool always trumps safe. And you guys know this because you're in the business of cool. And that's what you do. You make it so it's like, oh yeah, look what this excellent thing can do, And frankly, from an IoT perspective, look, my refrigerator can open my garage. Okay, really? But that's a problem, but it's a different one. And the other piece is technology does not care who uses it. I don't know if you've thought about this, but all the cameras on all the phones, they do amazing pictures of your aunt's birthday party or whatever. We have an entire organization devoted to innocent images, which those people with the cameras on the phones do the same things with little children that need to be stopped and stopped very badly. And this is a problem, and it's a societal question that we really need to ask. From a security perspective, we historically do the guns, gates, and guards thing. If I build a wall, then anything can't get through it. But the questions are, when data used to be physical, it stayed physical. They were talking about, the Intel guy was talking about wearable devices. What wearable devices used to be was a watch and a camera. You'd have the watch on your watch. That was wearable technology 20 years ago. Now, not so much. How is your data secured and where is it secured? And the real question also is, why do you care? And one of the reasons you care is because you have aggregated data and you have individual data. And in the aggregate, you're like, okay, well, it's Yahoo got, I hate to name names because everybody's subject to that. But an organization gets breached and it's like, okay, all this data is out there. In the aggregate, you think, okay, somebody else is actually accepting risk for that information. When it turns personal, it kind of looks different. My kid, my brother got compromised by not just some big corporate organization, but somebody went after him. And this information went after a person. And when the information's out there and it can be discovered, it turns what that thing looks like to a very personal thing. And it's not just big corporations going after small people. And then the number of devices you have that are connecting actually makes a difference with that. And if you can stitch a picture together, it turns into a real threat. So then you get to the question of what can you see, who can see what about you? And this is the privacy question. Who can see what information? What does it look like? What do you look like in that aggregate? So a lot of the healthcare pieces, and I know you all are very security conscious because every session I've sat through almost has had a security focus and a privacy focus. And there's a little bit of tension between which one does which. But I really applaud that because it's very dangerous. This information aggregation and the de-aggregation of information, which, when you talk about metadata, metadata isn't just unassociated data, it is very personal data. It's just not all the details of all the data. But what is the picture that this information paints about you? Do you know? What can you do about it? And just make sure that you have an idea what that looks like. So I come from a small town in western Pennsylvania. Somebody wanted to talk to people from the Midwest. It's not quite the Midwest, but it's pretty close. We have a slightly different perspective. I don't live there now, but there is a different perspective. They have an aging population. They have young people and old people. They have trucks and cars. And they have one famous person, whoever came from it. Here, wait, I'll show you. See, Joe Namath. Some of you might even know who he is. Anyway, he was a very big football star in western Pennsylvania. From western Pennsylvania. But one of the things that I use this as an example because there are good people in western Pennsylvania and there are bad people in western Pennsylvania. And there are hardworking, diligent people in western Pennsylvania and there are lazy people, not very many of them because But nevertheless, the organization, the city of Beaver Falls has to work. It has to have a mayor, it has to have a governing structure, it has to have roads, it has to have electricity, and it has to have all these pieces that pull together in order to create a community that people live in. When you look at technology, it kind of mirrors this. So you have people, you have good people, you have bad people, not very many bad people, mostly good people, everybody vaguely pure of heart, and a little bit off sometimes, and they all have their own interest and your interest at heart. But you gotta kind of balance that. Everybody has a slightly different perspective, and what they perceive as the mission is also a slightly different thing. So understanding what that is makes a difference, and especially when you're talking about data aggregation questions. Who has the data? What can they do with it? How often are they refreshing it? When are they getting rid of it? I'm not sure I heard anybody talk about getting rid of data at any of these things. The other piece that we overlay on this is that there's a lot of myths about security. People sit there and say, oh yeah, this information's secure. It's like, well, to me, security is not a binary state. To me, security is a whole lot of shades of gray because there's different levels of secure. If it's really secure, it's in a black box and nobody can get to it at all. If you're using data, it's not secure in that way. It's a process. It might be secure in transit. Is it secure at rest? Secure to and from whom? This is a major question because you can't just be secure in a vacuum. The problem of infrastructure. You all are using cloud. I know you are. Who's actually got access to your data and how are you protecting it from the cloud providers, the people who might be interested in taking it even without your permission? Just understanding what your perimeter looks like is a very major challenge. The whole idea that no one else is collecting the information is an interesting theory. Maybe. I doubt it. There's a lot of people who are interested in a lot of different pieces of information. If they can just sniff it out, they might actually be pulling it without your knowledge. Skipping on ahead, I like the one that's like, we can figure it all out. I think the privacy security problem is that you have, oh wait, I think I have another one. Well, I'll get there in a second. This is an old problem. This is not a new problem. We started the challenge of making sure that you get to keep your stuff and other people don't take your stuff is as old as time. Samson and Delilah, that was an insider threat. Matahari, spies. We have obviously Hansen. Oh yeah, Robert Hansen was the reason that my organization stood up. He was an insider threat. Worst threat to worst Russian spy we'd ever had up till that point. Many people died because of him. People deceive, people steal, people try to cover it up, and that's one of the constants. So this idea that oh yeah, if only we had the right technology, everybody would be doing it the way they want to. I don't think so. The other thing is people don't like to be manipulated, and they don't like tools to tell them what to do that much. I think they're getting more used to that, but I think it's still a little bit of a resistance to that. The threats look different now than they used to look. It used to be that what you had defacement, it would be graffiti, and now you have the defacement on their websites and things like that. And you have compromises of data, and your data has actually changed. It used to be, door-to-door salesman, now you have crimeware and ransomware and things like that, and spending your $17,000 to $75,000, whatever, in order to get your disk decrypted. We used to do the spies pieces of it. Now they can actually get in without spies. Sometimes they need some help, but a lot of times they can just do it. The one piece that's really interesting is it used to be very, very hard to find information about people. You had to go and find a local phone book. Does Joe live in, San Antonio or whatever? You had to get the San Antonio phone book. Now you Google this stuff. You can find out almost anything about almost anyone with some interesting gaps, but still, there's just a whole lot of information available about people. And just having that, okay, so if somebody's really after a person, it's very hard for that person to hide. And one of the things that's common is that almost all theft these days, all information theft, relates to the computer. There is no meaningful insider threat that is not also a computer-based threat. And it is enabled in a lot of ways by the lowly line of code. I don't know if you've ever seen these statistics. I thought they were a little intimidating. Let's see. 356,000 kilometers each way from Apollo 11, 145,000 lines of code. Can you imagine? Wow. That's like they did everything by hand. USHealthcare.gov, 500 billion lines of code, 3,500 times more complex than the trip to the moon and back. And of the lines of code, by the way, 20 to 30 bugs per every 1,000 lines of code, and that's the average. If you're a good programmer, it's probably only like 15 to 20. If you're a bad programmer, it's more than that. And for every one of those, I think it was 20% actually create a significant vulnerability. It's a problem. And it's not a problem that's solved easily and said, oh yeah, but I do good work and I do cool things. It's a problem that needs to be addressed by, bug bounties or whatever capability. We need to be aggressive about this. So at least we're not creating other ways that people can just compromise the data itself. And it gets more complex because we don't have just one system. We have multiple systems interacting with each other. So you have your healthcare system and your wearable technology and your AR and your VR, each of which is collecting different pieces of data, each of which is going to a different location. How many of those locations are then feeding back? You talk about the shopping kind of pieces where it's like, okay, well, talking about dwell time in stores. How long did you stand there? How much did you look at when you were looking at it? Did you pick anything up? We don't have that yet, but as soon as the RFID gets in there, I think, well, that too. It gets a little more complicated. On the plus side, government is aware of this. We are here to solve, no, we are not here to solve your problems. We're not going to be able to do it. This is way too fast for us. I would like to, but frankly, y'all are too smart for us. Well, and I work with really smart people. Just so you know, people who work in government aren't all, simple people like me. I work with some really smart people. And I know people in government who really, really have an understanding of how complex this is. We can't fix it. We can try. We can do some regulations. We can do some frameworks. We can do some legislation. We can put some arms around it a bit. But there's some problems we just can't do. And we need you to do it. We need you to do the standards piece of it. We need you to establish how things need to be looking across the different capabilities. And we're also getting attacked constantly. You might not know that. Trust me, I fight this battle every day. And we're facing the same challenges you are. So what do? Again, technology doesn't care who's using it, but still we care who uses it. Keep your eyes open from an individual level. Make sure you know what it is you're signing up for and who gets that data and what they're going to be doing with it. From an organizational level, know where your critical assets are. Do you do BYOD? What are you allowing on those other people's devices? Are you controlling it? Do you value it? Is it important to you? I was talking to one person, they're like, yeah, we care more about the people who work here than we care about the intellectual property, because it's harder to recruit a person than it is to develop a thing. Okay, then that's where your standards are. It's a perfectly legitimate trade-off, but just make sure it's a conscious trade-off. And then if you're a service provider, and this is the one when I know you all are using the cloud, make sure that you understand what your service provider is giving you and what level of transparency you have into how they're protecting your data. That's where that one gets really critical, because everyone talks about how secure the cloud is. It's like the cloud is secure for what they are doing, but security, again, is not a binary function. I'm going to skip this one because I have 2 minutes and 13 seconds, and I think I have more to say than this. But this is about the security tools, and I want to make sure that I have a good baseline for how I monitor the infrastructure and that I understand what it is that needs to be done. I'll probably leave this if you actually care. The one thing I do want to do, and whenever we talked about the tool, the wearable technology, my sense is, and I know y'all are going to address this, so I'm just going to throw it out there, but it needs to be upgradable. You can't just have, it's like we talked about the cars and things like that, but it's like the car is this age and you can't upgrade the hardware, the software, and all those kind of things. You need to be able to make sure that things maintain their security over time. That's the biggest problem with security as it goes. Make sure you're safeguarding your information, both from an individual and an organizational perspective. You're going to have an intrusion, practice, make sure you know how to fix it, and make sure you know what to do, and make sure that you treat this like a fire drill and that you have escalation. If you're a service provider, make sure that your customers know how they will know if something goes wrong. And then, this is the big piece. Make sure that you set your standards and meet them. Make sure you get what is OTA, I believe it is, which is the IoT approach. Lock down your configurations. Make sure you have configuration management. Make sure you're moving towards a mature product base. Don't just, again, anybody can deliver something that's cool. It needs to be cool and maintainable and able to be adjusted. And when you're done, you're not done. And one thing that's a truism of security is that the next gap is just around the corner. And it's a team sport. Get everyone involved. I have 28 seconds.